Okay, I think I got my audio settings correct. A good morning or a good afternoon to you all, or even a good evening, depending on what time zone you're in. This is not a stream that I had planned for today, but I wanted to do it while it was still, I guess, somewhat fresh. I know a lot of other content creators and VTubers, whoever, have already done YouTube videos and everything else on what PhaseCon was like, which was last weekend in San Francisco. And I have to say that my review is probably not going to be like most of those. This is basically going to be more of a show and tell than anything else. And the reason is I got some merch, I got some collectible goodies that were there, and I just want to show you what PhaseCon was like from a perspective of somebody who is obviously going to the inaugural of that particular convention, but what it's like for a normal con goer, what kind of trinkets they're going to get, what kind of merch they're going to get, what it was like over there. And then I'm going to pull up some, I guess I'm going to pull up the Twitter feed and some other YouTube videos and shorts about, you know, with some pictures and some short videos from PhaseCon. I'm not going to go and like call it like a react video or whatever. It's just more to pull in content from various other people who took pictures, took video over there, just to give you a kind of a good idea of what the convention was like and what to expect maybe next year, where VTuber conventions are going, you know, in the future, because Offkai's been around for 4 years now, and the 5th generation is going to be next month in July. So without further ado, I think I have everything set up. This is kind of unscripted. I kind of have an idea of what this stream is going to be like in my head, but but here we go. Okay, so I got my hand cam out for this one because I'm going to show you a lot of the goodies and the merch that everybody gets. First of all, you notice I don't have a desk mat here, and I'm afraid this might be a little bit too big to use for a desk mat, and it might affect visibility. But almost everybody who requested one got one of these, I forget what you call these, but these carrying bags or whatever, these con-going cases. PhaseCon has passed these out in every, PhaseConnect has passed these out in kind of almost every convention that they've had a major presence at, where they've had their own dedicated booth. And of course they come up with new designs depending on what con that they're going to and what generation is the newest. I have one from like Phase Euphoria that I got at Offkai last year. And they had like 4 or 5 different designs that you could get, and you don't get to pick which one, unfortunately. So, but they gave me the one for the latest generation here. I'm a big fan of Nietzsche and BB Biscuit. I also like Anya as well. So, but I think this was probably the most common one that was passed around. I personally like the design. I didn't have, the funny thing is, so when I flew to San Francisco, I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to take this back home with me without like doing checked luggage or something like that, because these carrying cases or these bags are really, really freaking huge. And they're kind of cumbersome to carry around throughout the entire convention. I prefer to stick small with like either my own backpack or maybe artist or vendors bag that they give out when you buy merch from them. Unfortunately, you know, with one of the quirks of California is that they don't allow plastic bags to be sold, so they're kind of in short supply. Although there were ways, I guess, maybe to get around that. But I wasn't carrying this around the entire convention. But I consider this one of, maybe not a collectible, but a bit of con memorabilia. So me not liking checked luggage and preferring, you know, to pack light and just having 2 carry-on bags, I just folded this up into thirds and I managed to fit it in my duffel bag, and it served as a nice like base to hold everything else that I got at the con. If you want to see what the other side looks like, and I'm sure this picture's just been around. I'm trying not to hit all the noodle stoppers on my desk, but this is how you know it was dedicated just for this convention. So that's why I wanted to keep this. It's basically evidence that, yeah, I went to the very first PhaseCon right here. So this thing is very like cumbersome to use as a desk mat though, and I've realized that because my desk isn't big enough for that, but I just wanted to let you all see that. So and then the other thing that they gave you initially was, obviously, I guess I'll show you the badge that I got. I actually got recognized at the con by somebody, and I'll get into that in just a bit, but everybody got this badge here. And there are people like, if you go to VTuber conventions, collecting these ribbons becomes kind of a competition or a thing. It's one of those cultural aspects, I guess, of VTuber conventions. And I was there. It was only a 2-day convention. It was Saturday and Sunday. I got there Friday night. I picked up my badge the next morning on Saturday. And I really didn't start, I guess, what you call ribbon maxing until Sunday. So I think I got more ribbons at PhaseCon than I did at Off-Kai last year. And I only got like 2 or 3 ribbons by the end of Saturday, but Sunday, like they started handing them out like candy, I guess. So these are all the ones I got. I particularly like the NASA ribbon here. And then just a few of the others. But in addition to the badge, obviously, everybody got one Phase Connect token with their membership, and these have Sakana on one side, and then they have the Phase Connect logo on the other. I'll give you a close up of what it looks like. So I guess Sakana is heads, and then the Phase Connect logo is tails. And you could use these tokens in these claw machines that were there. If you go up to, if you'd been to Off-Kai before last year, if you went to like, I think Gen 2 and Gen 3, it took place at the Hyatt next to San Francisco Airport. And they have this atrium up there that's kind of like on the 2nd and 3rd floor. And a lot of the con activities were up there, including all the free coffee that they were giving out, free Phase coffee throughout the convention. I must have had 10 or 12 cups total while I was there. But this coin, you could win more of these coins depending on how much you spent in the exhibitors hall, or how much you spent at the PhaseCon merch booth, and in the music room as well, buying things. I think for every like $40 or $50, you got one of these. And so I wound up getting like 7 or 8 before the con was over. And I think there were other ways to win these tokens, but they had a bunch of claw machines in the atrium, and every once in a while they would stick these claw machines full of plushies and jorbs and and a whole bunch of other things that you could win. And you would use one of these tokens to get something from the claw machine. They also had some gacha machines as well, so you put a token in there and you might get something. There were some big prizes there, like some free t-shirts, and even there were a few standees that I think that they gave away. So, but this coin, like, I wanted to keep at least one of these Phase Connect coins as a bit of like con memorabilia. And so I thought that was neat. I wanted to share this with y'all. So I purchased a blind box while I was there down in what was called the Phase Warehouse. And the Phase Warehouse had one booth where you could purchase blind boxes, and then a few other bits of new merch that were there that may or may not have also been at the Phase booth in the actual exhibitors hall. But the warehouse is kind of an interesting concept. The warehouse also had a section where you could team up with 2 other con goers and have a competition on how many Phase blind boxes that you could pack. And depending on how many that you got correct, you got prizes as a result, I guess. But I went ahead and bought one of the smaller Phase blind boxes at the warehouse. So not everything that I got in the blind box is here. This box also contains a lot of the things that I won at the crane machines and the gotcha up in the atrium, as well as some other things that I bought in the exhibitors hall. So this is the main bit of show and tell that I wanted to show you. I want to show you what I got at the convention and what I spent at least some money on, I guess. And so we'll open it up. This came with the con registration. These first 3 items that I'm going to show you. This is basically the event guide. And VTuber conventions are kind of going old school. You don't necessarily have a phone app. You have actual, paper event guides. I remember Offkai being like this last year, and I thought that was a nice kind of throwback to the 2000s or the early 2010s before everybody had smartphones for programming apps and everything. But they, as you can see, it was a 2-day con, so they had Saturday and all the different meet and greet schedules here, Sunday as well, and then they had the different rooms and what activities were going on. And this is very simple. It was a fold out of only 3 or I guess 6 total pages if you look at the back. The back has some event times, main event schedule where they tell you where all the concerts were, which I attended a couple of them. The concerts were just phenomenal. And then a guide to the hotel / meeting area and all the different activities going on. PhaseCon also did something that I want to say Offkai was doing last year. I don't quite remember, but they had these passports that they were giving away. And depending on the different activities that you did at the convention, if you went to each different room and did something, you would get a stamp in your passport. And so there were 8 different places and really 8 different rooms and activities that you could go to at PhaseCon. One for Phase Music, where they had a lot of karaoke going on, and they even had a booth where they were selling PhaseCon talent, Phase Connect talent albums. And I'll show you some of those in just a bit. The warehouse, which I went to, I told you what was in there, basically. Main stage is where they had all the concerts and main events. The atrium booth is, if I remember correctly, it's just upstairs where they had another screen going on and some, I won't say like meet and greets or anything, but kind of like every once in a while they'd have a different talent up there on the screen, and all the fans of that particular talent would get together in front of the screen, and they take turns like asking questions and interacting into the mic. So it was kind of what you'd call maybe a collective meet and greet. The atrium booth is also where like the crane machines and the gotcha machines were, as well as where they were giving away Phase coffee. And then Phase World, I thought, was kind of the most odd or interesting room within the convention. They had this room dedicated to a few of the different talents, and they had like these booths within the room that had like this artwork or background of what their original worlds are like. And then in these glass display cases at each one of those individual booths, they had some acrylic standees and collectible kind of merch that was associated with that particular talent. So, for example, like Urika, she had those green basketball shorts in the display case. I forgot what some of the others had, but yeah, that's one thing that I thought was the most interesting of all the rooms. You could only spend like, it's not that they kicked you out or anything, but really there was no reason to spend more than 5 or 10 minutes in that particular room. It was kind of more like going into a Phase museum or anything or something like that. The merch hall is the thing that the one thing that I'll complain about. And I understand that it was expected of everybody who went to this con, who also went to Offkai Gen 2 and Gen 3, which took place at the same exact facility in the hotel. The merch hall was downstairs in, I think, the biggest room downstairs that wasn't the main events hall. And because of that, even though it was a relatively big room, it was too small for the number of vendors they had. And they had about maybe like 8 or 9 vendors, mostly artists. The Capitalist Trade Guild was there, and I think they were the second largest vendor, along with Luud and then PhaseCon's or PhaseConnect's official booth. But you got a stamp for going to the merch hall. The merch hall, because of its constrained space, though, there was a line for most of the day for both days trying to get into the merch hall that wrapped around the hallway, and then even went outside into the the foyer of the hotel, and outside toward the parking garage as well. And so in some cases there was like a 45-minute to an hour-long wait just to get into the merch hall. I went into the merch hall both days, but I waited toward the end of the day where the wait was maybe 10-15 minutes at the most, and I bought what I wanted to buy, and so be it. And you also got a stamp just for getting the free coffee upstairs in the atrium. And then there's kind of like this free slot that serves as like kind of a free space. If you're familiar with like bingo or any of those games, you get a free slot there. So often a lot of people, if they go up to the coffee stand or whatever, they'd ask, the guy would stamp both the coffee and the free slot. So, but if you had all 8 stamps in this passport, you got a phase coin or phase token that you use. And I was a good boy, and I didn't cheat or whatever. I did one for each day. And so I have 2 of these completely filled out. And I want to say I have a blank somewhere, but I don't know. I don't remember where I put it. Senator Wary, how was the venue? I've never been to a con and only know the memes on them smelling bad. The venue was actually pretty nice. It was actually a pretty good hotel. Our room was facing into the atrium rather than outside toward the bay or the freeway. The venue was actually big enough for what the convention was. I didn't feel anything like claustrophobic about it. It was crowded, but it was manageable. You didn't struggle to walk around everywhere unless there was a line for a particular event. That venue is probably designed for maybe holding 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people at the most. And if I had to say my best guess, I'd say there are probably about 3,000 people attending the convention this year. But you'd have to get with PhaseCon or PhaseConnect to get the exact number. I can tell you, having been to conventions, anime conventions, and other nerd conventions for decades now, PhaseCon was about the same size as one of the bigger anime conventions were in the 2000s. So maybe about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people at the most, which you can have in basically a hotel and its attached conference rooms. You don't have to have a full-size convention center for something like that. Offkai last year, I can see why they moved to the San Jose Convention Center, because I can imagine they definitely outgrew the Hyatt. Because by my best guesstimates, I would say Offkai may have had 8,000 to 10,000 people last year, and will probably have more than that this year, probably 13, 14, 15,000, obviously. But the San Jose Convention Center has the space for that. They could probably host a convention that has probably like 20, 30,000 before they outgrow that one. So, and Offkai didn't feel claustrophobic to me last year. I'm going this year as well. It's going to take place at the same facility, the San Jose Convention Center, next month. What's interesting is that, so Offkai normally takes place in June, and it probably would have taken place this past weekend or this weekend, except a lot of conventions in the US are scheduling around the World Cup just to make sure that there is, there's no scheduling conflict and they don't have to deal with crowds. And that's why Offkai pushed their convention over to July after all the World Cup games are done. So But PhaseCon was kind of a good fill-in for June, for, I guess, prepping for Off-Kai. Majestic to Dizzy said they had hoped to get maybe 1K attendees, sold more than 2K tickets. Yeah, I would imagine that, because I was looking at, I was kind of glancing at people's badge numbers. Mine's under 1,000, but I saw badge numbers that were into the 2,000s. I don't think I saw any 3,000. So based on my experience with conventions and feeling it out, I would definitely say Dizzy is probably right. They sold more than 2,000 tickets, so they're probably about 2,000, 2,500, around 3,000 people at the convention, which is what, just to give you some perspective, the largest anime conventions in the United States, when they had anywhere between about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people, and there was a time when that was a lot of people for an anime convention. That would have been the late 90s and early 2000s. And they were in similar type hotels. I had gone to AWA for about 20 years straight before COVID hit. And the early 2000s, they were getting about 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 guests. It wasn't until about 2016, 2017, they started getting like 30, 40, 50,000 people, just because the fandom had just grown exponentially. But yeah, moving on with everything else that you get at the con, this was a bit of a, this is something I will cherish. Everybody who attended the first year of the convention got this pin that they can put on like their hat or their hoodie or their backpack or whatever. It is literally, it just says PhaseCon 2026 with the number 1 and then the Phase Connect logo there. And it's something that it's definitely going to be a mark, because only a couple thousand people are going to have these. So maybe someday, 10, 15, 20 years from now, if VTuber conventions take off like anime conventions did, with the whole fandom and everything, this is going to be one of those items that is going to be like a marker of you being there early, right at the beginning, you know, when it was still kind of a nascent fandom. So I'm very happy. It's still in the wrap or the package for me. I'm probably going to keep like the base that it's on, but I'm definitely I'm going to wear this to Off-Kai. Most definitely I'm going to wear this to Off-Kai, and I'm probably not going to be the only one who's going to wear this to Off-Kai. Here are a few things that I won from the crane machines. They had I think most of what they sold in those crane machines, besides Jorbs, were these finger puppets. And so I got one of Urika here, and then I forget who this talent is. I'm bad with names. I don't know a lot of the names of the talents that I don't particularly follow with Phase Connect. I know a lot of them, but Urika's my favorite, and so is Sheena. So I was big on getting this one. Being there earlier and willing to subject yourself to California. Yeah. Well, hey, you know, at least the weather was nice, right? That's what everybody says about California. And then I think I got these stickers in the blind box. And so I'm probably gonna put these on my car, or maybe some other thing. I could put these on my car. I could put these on one of my ammo cans. I don't know what else I'm gonna put them on. But these were also given away in the blind boxes. There's a Sakana sticker where his eyes say 6-7. But yeah, just to give you a close-up of what the stickers look like. And then I got a Tema keychain. I got this in one of the gacha machines. There were a lot of like Tema and I think Panko acrylic keychains that were coming out of those machines for whatever reason. Oh well. And then a lot of this, by the way, some of this, like I traded some items for others with other people who were in the atrium. Like putting out their goods or their wares and saying, hey, you want to trade? And that was one of the fun things about the convention, is that because of people trading collectibles like this, I got to talk to a lot of people at the convention. I got to know some people. So, and there was just a lot of that going on both days. And even in day 0, which I didn't attend. I had gotten to the hotel really late Friday night because my flight out of Texas was delayed like 4 times and left 4 hours late. So, but there are these like photo, whatever you call them. So I got one of Sleepy, Muyu, and then Iori. And then there's some other keychains and acrylics. Like here's one of this Sheena. This was in the blind box as well. But yeah, I'll show you some of these. Here's one of, this is an older one, I think, of Ponko. I think that's Ponko. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna set a lot of these up. Maybe give them away if other Phase Connect fans value some of the talents more. I think the most common bit of merch that was passed around when you went to the gacha machines though were these buttons. And so there was a lot here of like Dizzy coming out. And I got at least 3 of these and I gave 2 of them away. And she's really popular, so but maybe I ought to follow her. We'll see. Do you find the guy handing out hundreds of Oshi plush packs from a duffel? I saw him, but I didn't grab any. I also went into the gaming room where they had like half the room was dedicated to like Oshi push. And I haven't gotten into it yet. I don't know if I'm going to get into it. I've actually never been that much of like a CCG or TCG player. But it's not something that I'm completely like alien to. So I might give it a shot. We'll see. They had a booth there that they were in the gaming room where they were selling, I think they were selling packs and they were selling other merch that was associated with the convention. So, but I saw him, but I didn't grab anything. And another place that I spent a lot of money, like I mentioned, was in the music room. And so we'll put this aside for now. I spent 5 minutes thinking about this, but because I am on a CD kick, and it may be just a bit of nostalgia for me, I have a CD player in my NA Miata, well, where the CD function doesn't work, but I've got a Bluetooth CD player that ports into the FM transmitter that I got plugged into the cigarette lighter in the Miata. So I've been listening to music that way. They had a bunch of talent albums for sale. And so all of these were anywhere between, I think, $35 and $40. And I decided to go all out and get all 6 that were for sale. So I got Lumi's album or single for Void. And then I think these 2 are the most popular. There's Last Story, which I haven't opened any of these yet. I probably should. Phase Music Volume 1. This was probably the most popular album that was sold at the convention. And so I'm probably going to pop this open, maybe listen to it today while I'm out. Atelier. This is Himamiya Ria's first EP, I guess. Casual Blasphemy, Runier's first album. You were asking about Amy. Well, I got this. I haven't listened to any of these songs, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. So all in all, I think these 6 albums together, I wound up spending over almost $250 on them. And so I got a bunch of tokens from the music room just for buying all of these. I said, sure, why not? I have the money. Let's go for it. Let's fucking go. Let's go for broke. Let's see. What else was there? I did go to the merch hall, as I mentioned, and I bought some merch from some of the other artists that were there. And so Luwood had sold these in previous conventions. I think these were for sale at San Japan last year when I stopped by his booth. But me being an Urika fan, I finally decided to get this fishing hat, or this bucket hat. I have one. I have the Samiko Saba hat, and I love wearing these types of hats now. I didn't like them before, but once I started wearing them, I'm like, man, I love these hats. And so when I saw he was selling the Urika one that he designed, I guess, that it's like, man, I ought to get this. So I went ahead and got one. And I'll be wearing it a little bit more frequently now, I guess. And then there's another artist, and I forgot her name, but she's been at conventions before, including San Japan. And I bought a couple of her like pocket plushies, one for Urika and one for Sheena, because those are my 2 favorite face talents. And I have these. She makes these plushies not just for like PhaseConnect VTubers, but she also has them for like other VTubers as well. And so I have one for Gargura, and she also sells like the equivalent t-shirts with these plushies, where you can put the plushies in the pockets in like the chest or the breast pocket that is sewn onto the t-shirt. And you could basically carry these plushies around for the whole con. So I got the one for Gargura like at least a year and a half ago. I think it was before she graduated. But the only sad thing about this is that while she was at the convention and she had all these plushies, she did not have the equivalent t-shirts for these 2. And so if I see her booth at Off-Kai or San Japan this year when I go, I will pick up the shirts as well, just to complete the package. But these are fun little things that you can stick into any kind of like pocket. They're well made. If you ever follow my friend Trig, I think his username is Trigonometric on X or Twitter, and he posts a lot of pictures of like a lot of the outdoor adventures he goes to in the whole Western United States. He always has like he's got the Pippa version of this, and he's always like carrying the Pippa plushie around and like putting it in like coffee mugs and stuff like that, while the Pippa plushie is like photobombing a lot of his pictures of like forests and trees and mountains and lakes and a whole bunch of other landscapes that he has on like all his outdoor and his camping trips. So I spent a lot of money doing that. Yeah, Gura's graduation felt so sad, and my feeling of it when it happened, because it was a little over a year ago, is like she had that wistful thing. It's like, and this was right after Fauna and Mume had graduated, and then you see Gura's image there, and it's like, oh no, and we're kind of like smiling and crying at the same time, because we all knew it was kind of gonna happen, but then it's just, once it hits, it's like it was just ton of bricks on me. So she was, maybe I'm normie for this, but she was my Kamiyoshi. She really was. And I had followed her a bit when but I had to follow her a bit for like a long time. I won't mention anything else about, her other ventures, but I am a big Samiko Saba fan, by the way. Just putting that out there. I wish she would stream more, but I feel like she's got things going on, and sometimes this industry can be kind of stressful, especially if you've got a big following, and you kind of feel like you kind of feel a little bit of, not necessarily pressure, but there's a lot of prep going on into some of these streams. Like, one of the reasons streams can start late if you're into this hobby or industry or doing this as a medium is that the prep work to make sure like all your sound is good, that all your programs are running fine, whatever program you're using. I happen to use OBS and I use VC Face and a few others. Doing that and making sure your OBS is running correctly, all your scenes are set up correctly so that you can go without any kind of issue. That takes 30 minutes to an hour before each stream. So I've got to prep for that beforehand. It's a lot easier though than making shorts or reels, because there's production work involved in that. Sometimes it takes me anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours to do a 10 to 20 second short or reel. And I know I haven't done many of those recently. I need to get back on doing that. I've got enough content to do almost a dozen of those, but I'm hoping I'll do them more frequently. But even so, it's just easier to stream. But live streaming is just there is work involved. I spent a good chunk of last night, even though I haven't collabed with anybody yet, figuring out how to actually do that and port my VTuber character, my avatar that you see here, onto that of another VTuber's stream. And it's fairly straightforward, except there are a few quirks I just haven't figured out with the programs I use to get rid of, to have that transparent background and properly use, chroma set and the green screen. So, but that's just something I'm gonna have to fiddle around with, I guess. So, what else was I gonna? Oh, that's right. So, that's a little bit about what the con was like. I went to a lot of different events. I went to the first concert. I went to the last concert. It was just absolutely like amazing. And I'm gonna admit this about PhaseCon. A lot of people are kind of like in tears about it, that it finally happened. It was a very emotional experience. For me, it felt kind of odd at first, because I'm one of these people that I like some of the individual talents a lot. I've been following Pippa for a long time, but I like Urika and Sheena as well. But I am not really that big of I'm not what you would call a Phase fan or a Phase fanatic, I guess, where I follow like at least a dozen of the talents there, where I have some kind of feelings or loyalty for the agency. A lot of the people who were at the convention fall into that category. A lot of people who are at the convention don't. They went for 1, 2, 3 talents like me. But I do like Phase Connect. I like a lot of the work they do, and the effort that they put into this convention. The idea that Sakura had in the beginning, that they would be doing this a few years from now, when I guess one of the talents said this, I think it was Sheena, but it was just a Discord server at first, and then it grew into what it is now. It's really kind of a look back to how far Phase Connect has come since the beginning several years ago, and how it will continue going on. It's like when they say Otsu Phase, like there's feeling, there's meaning behind that. As it speaks to me, I got there. I went downstairs, picked up my badge on Friday, and I started walking around. I saw the line for the merch hall, and then I thought for a brief instance, was this con worth going to? Was it worth spending the money and all that? And then I went into the first concert. I think it was at like noon or 1 in the afternoon on Friday. And then it hit me that same feeling that I had gotten at Off-Kai last year hit. And I'm like, I'm in the zone. I'm in my element. I'm with my tribe, you know, with all the other VTuber fans, even though this was specifically dedicated to Phase Connect. And I enjoyed the rest of the Friday like you wouldn't believe. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard about certain things that were going on in the foyer, the atrium Friday night. I wasn't directly a part of any of those, but I was in the hotel and I could hear things going on downstairs and follow everything that was going on Twitter. So we're gonna go over. We're gonna switch a little bit to a little bit of like YouTube Shorts and videos and Twitter feeds on this next part of the stream, and you'll probably see some PhaseCon shenanigans going on. So here we go. Let me pull this up. I want to mention something, by the way. I got recognized at the convention by the person who does the VTuber Industrial Complex. He makes a lot of good patches. And I have a few of his patches. And I don't know if he recognized me because I was liking or commenting on some of his Twitter posts, or he has actually seen 1 or 2 of my streams and then recognized me and my voice. I didn't really get to clarify that with him. We fist bumped and we talked for a bit, maybe a couple of minutes about things. But I would totally recommend following this and buying his merch, by the way. And I think he's the one that had the record for paying the most for a lot of the standees. And no, I don't think that was a bad financial decision, by the way, if you're watching this. But yeah, there's people who got a lot more than I did, as you can see. He's a big Jelly fan, obviously. I wanted to highlight this tweet by Urika because this had been making the rounds. And I think this kind of sums up a little bit of what I was saying about 5 or 10 minutes ago about how far PhaseCon has come. Off-Kai Gen 1, which would have been, let's see, I think that was 2022? Because Gen 4 was last year and that was 2025. So this would have been right after COVID. Off-Kai Gen 1 on the left, PhaseCon on the right. Yeah, I'd be sobbing too. A lot of people were. You know, a room that's only maybe a third filled like that, and she's talking with the crowd, she's singing, and then this is what it's turned into. It's amazing how far they come. And I think one of the other talents was it Sheena she quote tweeted this and said, "I was in that room watching you." But I want to say it was Sheena. I forget who it was though. One of the other Phase talents was actually among the audience in this room. And then, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and pull up the, I went ahead and did a search for PhaseCon. And so here is just some of the more popular posts on X that are part of PhaseCon. Oh God. I don't think I should play too much of this video, obviously, but this became a thing until Sakana basically put a stop to it. That was probably the most infamous thing that happened at the convention, the foot juice thing. I'm not gonna go too much into that. I gotta be careful. With some NSFW stuff that might pop into this feed. This is supposed to be clean. Oh, so Capipulus Trade Guild. They had these. They had one of these Miatas on their table. And this person here, this is their work, their artwork, their sticker work, their artwork on these Miatas here. And I saw one of them on the table at the convention. And so, if memory serves me correctly, I have one of these Miatas, not with this particular design, but you can order these Miata RC cars from a certain website, and I got one as a gift. Mine's kind of a blue. But as soon as I saw one of these, I recognized it, saying, I have one of those Miata RC cars. And I think this is that Miata RC car, maybe, or another model that they use, and then they put stickers on it. And I think this is really neat. And I'm a little bit sad that I didn't get one of these, but they had one on display at the table right before one of the concerts. And so it's a Pippa Miata. Because she had a phase where she was really into Miatas. I don't think she ever bought one though. There are a lot of people posting videos and little shorts about what was going on at PhaseCon, like some concert footage here. And so PhaseCon got a lot of trending going on Twitter that entire weekend. You could kind of tell what was going on at the convention by just looking at your Twitter feed while you're having your phone around, walking around the place. So yeah, this was pretty amazing. This was when I think the auctions were happening for the standees. Lawood had his usual setup, and I bought my Urkuff hat from him. Yeah, there's just a lot. I'm trying to skip past all the more controversial stuff. Is Gel over? Oh, this is something I posted 3 years ago when Pippa had her billboard. This was in Tennessee, I think. But it's weird, like doing a PhaseCon search and then having mine pop up like that from long ago. Let me tell you something. The talents, when they were just running around in their robots, I swear one of them, I want to say it was Poncho, like she almost fell down the stairs in the atrium. that was kind of funny. Oh, and then they had this like silent booth here, which a lot of people used. And people were signing like Sakana standee, and they had other like murals or banners at the foyer level to sign. And so there's just a lot going on.
To give a shout out, by the way, to some of the VTubers that were like very, I guess, like kind and sweet, like Midas. I liked Midas. Midas, you were great. You were great. And Yaru, I appreciate any VTuber that showed up as a fan of Face Connect.
Oh, so this is what I was talking about in the Phase World room. There were different booths. And yeah, this was Pippa's booth. Like, this is like the background murals are basically like where she's from. And of course, the Pippa socks are what's in the glass display case. So I'm not going to go over. I'm not going to go over too. This was amazing, by the way. They PhaseCon made $62,000 selling all of these standees, the cutouts. And Dizzy and Jelly went for the most. And then if you click the whole list here, this is how much each went for. And let's play some, I got some videos and shorts pulled up as well, so.
This is so BM! This is so BM! You can't do that! I'm gonna hide you guys from the stream! I'm not gonna allow this! That's fucked up! Don't flip me off! Yeah, at least put in Minecraft at the end. Yeah, thank you, chat. Thank you, chat. Chat is so much nicer. What?
Wait a minute. This is chat. This is chat.
That you're not chat.
Where's Papa Kid?
Papa Kid's not here right now. Are you dressed as him?
Kid?
Are you dressed as my dad? What the fuck? Oh my god.
We want Papa Kid.
Papa Kid's not here. I can't even bring him on stream right now. I can bug Papa Kid for. You know what? Tomorrow, if I'm able to roam around on the robot, I'll see if Papakin is available, and I'll let him tour around PhaseCon. How about that? Yeah? Hell yeah! Can't believe you guys like my dad more than me. Fuck you.
Mwah! Mwah! Okay, get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, bye-bye.
The Ethno Guesser stream, which is a game that revolves around people ethnicities.
Hey Ram, I'm gonna pick you up and take you there.
Okay.
Uppy!
I'm tuning everybody! Woohoo! Toes in the room! Let's go!
Hey Ram, I'm gonna pick you up and take you there.
But he was telling us, and I'm not supposed to tell you, but he was telling us that at the concerts he cried. He teared up a little bit. In 5 years of me being here, he hasn't ever reacted like that. But at the concerts, he teared up. I know, what a baby, what a loser. Could you believe that? That's crazy. He's kind of Gatmoy. He's a little bit Gatmoy. But he was telling us, and I'm not supposed to tell. I will cry my
Will this pledge be forever, guys?
Oh my god.
You gotta confirm. You gotta confirm it for forever. Everybody, hand over your heart. Hand over your heart. Let's say it together. Ready?
I think that's it for
I will
the PhaseCon stuff. So
awesome, Cookie. Put this forever. This is forever. Engraved in your heart. All right, all right, next, make sure to take lots of pictures and tag PhaseCon 2026.
yippee indeed. Yeah, by the time I was flying home on Monday, I wouldn't say the PCD had quite hit. I didn't have it as bad as other people, PCD being post-con depression. But I didn't look forward to going back to work the next day. But now that I've been able to let it marinate, yeah, PhaseCon was just absolutely phenomenal. So so I would strongly recommend going if you if you're thinking about going. I know if you missed out on the first year, well, be sure you go the second year. Let me catch up on chat a little bit because there are a couple of questions, I think. Did they auction off the holy relics? I don't know that they did. A lot of the holy, if you're talking about the holy relics that were in the phase world in those glass display cases, some of those you could just they were, some of those items like the Pippa socks have been for sale at the phase booth anyway to begin with at various conventions. Senator Worry, I think you were asking how much Miatas go for these days, and I'm assuming you mean NA Miatas, and I kind of answered you in chat, but I want to get to that a bit. I've done streams on what the Miata market is like these days, and it's not pretty. Let's just say that it is absolutely kind of, I don't want to say like it's totally like fucked in the way that, things are going right now. But here's what I will say. The time to get a Miata, if you really want an NA Miata, okay, was yesterday. The second best time to get a NA Miata is today. The worst time to get an NA Miata is tomorrow, because over the past few years since COVID, I think the market for especially NA Miatas has entered that territory where you had a lot of buyers and sellers that were kind of feeling out the market to see where it was going to go long term. Whether, the increase in Miata prices was just kind of like a passing fad, or whether, it was actually going to be on the upswing like a lot of classic cars before it. And I think it's safe to say that it took 3 or 4 years to establish this, for the market to establish this fact, but NA Miatas are on the upswing and they're not going to go down in price anytime soon. In fact, they're going to keep going up. Now, they're not going to reach like FD RX-7 or Mark IV Super prices, obviously. But the days of having an affordable kind of like entry-level NA Miata are pretty much almost over. There are rebuilt title NA Miatas with rust on the rocker panels that are, as long as they are running and driving, even if they have 200,000 miles, they're going for $5,000–$6,000 now. You have to pay at least that much if you want a running and driving Miata that's registerable in your state to drive, at least here in the United States. If you want something that is relatively low miles, and relatively low miles these days means around 100,000 or under, that have no rust, that are clean, maybe not spotless, maybe they have a few scratches, they have a few dents in the paint, but are otherwise reasonably clean, that can be used as daily drivers, it's going to be, you're paying at least $10,000 now. And that's not just Bring a Trailer prices, that's Facebook Marketplace. So yeah, the market's kind of fucked now, and I don't know that COVID screwed it up, but NA Miatas had gotten to the point where, you know, by the early part of this decade, the 2020s, every model year of the NA Miata, the first generation, has become a classic car. They're all 25 years old now. And because so many of them were tracked and crashed, the good examples, the running and driving examples, are becoming fewer and further between. I've noticed this personally, where 2022, 2023, even 2024, it wasn't uncommon to see NA Miatas being driven on the weekend. You could see maybe 1 or 2 a day. You see them a lot less frequently now, even on the weekends, even when the weather is nice. I see them maybe I see an NA Miata maybe once every 2 weeks now instead of once every 2 days. And so they're getting to that point. NB Miatas now are what NA Miatas were just a few years ago. They have hit kind of the bottom. They have hit the nadir of their pricing, and now good, clean running and driving NB Miatas are going for about $7,000-8,000. They're not as high as NA Miatas, obviously, but a running and driving NB Miata is going to cost you at least $3,500-4,000, and a good one's going to be like, you know, $7,000 or $8,000 now, maybe even higher depending on whether it's low miles or not. And so the window on an affordable NB Miata, the window on an affordable NA Miata has kind of closed. You might get lucky and get a good deal somewhere, who knows? But the window on the NB Miata being affordable probably has about 2 or 3, 4 years left. And then NCs are now holding their value. They've almost reached the bottom. Running and driving NCs with even 100,000 miles are going to go for about what NB and NA prices go for. So the era of $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 running and driving Miatas was long over before COVID. The era of $5,000, $6,000 running and driving Miatas is almost over. So if you really want one, now's the time to get one. That's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, I've got other stuff to do today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching this stream. And we will see you all